Buenas and half a day. The Committee on Rules hereby convenes this meeting. For the record, today is Wednesday, September 20th, 2017, and the time is now 2:08 p.m. The Committee on Rules Director, Mrs. Janine Cordero, will now call the roll of members.
Senator Bisco-Lee.
Gaigia.
Senator Tom Atta. Speaker B.J. Cruz. Vice Speaker Therese Chalahi. Senator Frank Uggan. Senator Talina Nelson. Senator Dennis Rodriguez. Senator Joseph Augustine. Senator Michael Sinnicolas. Senator James Espaldon. Senator Mary Torres. Madam Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Director. Does the Chair hear a motion to excuse members not present? Moved and seconded. Are there any objections? If none, motion carries. Is there a motion to ratify the minutes for our July 17th meeting, which should be in your packets? Moved by Senator Uggan, second by Senator St. Augustine. Any objection? Motion carries. Subject to correction, thank you. And we'll now provide a report by the Legislative Secretary on the document tracking for Legislature in Guam. The Legislative Secretary report to date is as follows. 13 appointments have been submitted by the Governor thus far and all are pending. I'd like to state for the record that 4 appointments have met their potential due dates with no actions by the committee. However, they have been notified via phone call and a request for an update via email as well. 5 zone changes were submitted by the Governor and all have been approved by the Governor's office. 7 proposed rules and regulations have been submitted thus far. A letter was sent to the compiler of laws regarding affirmation of legislative decision not to act upon for 5 of the 7 items. These items are noted on my report. A transmittal from the Department of Land Management was not approved by the Attorney General due to non-submittal of an economic impact statement as required by 5 GCA. Lastly, a transmittal from the Department of Public Health and Social Services, Division of Environmental Health, governing chemical toilets has a potential due date of September 19th, 2017, of which the Oversight Chairperson was informed. As discussed during the last core meeting held on July 17th, a request for correspondence was sent to the compiler, which is attached to the report for your information. Committee reports for the following items have been duly filed with the Committee on Rules, and the following bills are cleared for session agenda consideration. Under Old Business, Bills 5, 6, 29, 34, 74, 81, 76, and 107. And then we also have a number of items cleared under New Business. Bill number 24, 34 COR, introduced by Senator Sinnicolas. Bill number 39, introduced by Senator St. Augustine. Bill number 56, as corrected, introduced by Senator Atta. Bill number 63, Senator Sinnicolas. Bill number 64, Senator Sinnicolas. Bill number 65, Senator Sinnicolas. Bill number 75, as corrected by the sponsor, Senator Atta. Bill number 88, Senator Espaldon. Bill number 104, as corrected by Senator Uggan. Bill 108, as substituted and amended by Senator Atta. 111, Senator Atta. 113, as corrected by the prime sponsor, Senators Rodriguez and St. Augustine. 114, also Senators Rodriguez and St. Augustine. Bill number 122, Senator Morrison and Speaker Cruz. Bill number 138, as substituted by the committee, Senator Morrison. Bill number 150, as corrected by Senator St. Augustine and Senator Rodriguez. Bill number 165, Senator Tilina Cruz Nelson, Senator Camacho Torres, Senator San Agustin, and Senator Castro, and Resolution 215 by Senator San Nicolas. Mr. Speaker.
Madam Chair, now, your notice, notwithstanding your notice of deadline for committee reports, at the request of Senator Michael San Nicolas, I move to place the following item for inclusion in this month's agenda. Bill 74, as amended by the Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication, an act to add new Articles 7 and 8 to Chapter 6, Title 11, Guam Code annotated relative to defining stamp tax on cigarettes and requiring for the proper affixing of stamps, and to authorize the Department of Revenue Taxation to promulgate implementing regulations.
What was that bill number?
7734. Tax stamp.
7734. I apologize.
77-34.
He's moving to place. Speaker Cruz moves to place Bill number 77-34 regarding the stamp tax. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Senator Nelson. Any objection? So moved. Speaker Cruz?
That's it.
Madam Chair, I'm just
Yes,
trying
Vice
to,
Speaker.
earlier on, you talked about your report regarding the rules and regulations, but I can't find that attached. Where would I find that report?
It's under the Legislative Secretary's report. I can give you my copy.
I don't think it's part of our packets. All right, thanks. I was just trying to hear, did any pass by, when you say affirmation of legislative decision to not act upon them? Default approval? Were there any recent ones? I guess, sorry. Okay, all right, thank you.
And the next upcoming one isn't due until, I believe, the middle of, or later this month, September, yeah. That's the regulation on chemical toilets. That's with Senator Rodriguez's committee.
Sorry, can you just read it for the record? Which one is that that's expiring in September, or will
September,
be
it expired on
default?
September 19th, yeah. So that was the transmittal from the Department of Public Health and Social Services, Division of Environmental Health, governing chemical toilets, and it was received by Legislature in Guam on 6/19/2017, and it was sent to all members through messages and communications.
Is that something you got out?
No. They're, any other motions to place bills? I'd also like to just mention nominations that are cleared for session include the appointment of Stephen R. Hollister to serve as a member of the Guam Environmental Protection Agency Board of Directors. Any motions to place these items on the session agenda? Senator Atta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I would move to place on the session agenda, then they're listed here, Bill 74, Bill 56, Bill 75, Bill 108, Bill 111, and not listed on here is Bill 13. That was a bill that was actually on the session agenda 2 sessions ago and was sent back to committee. I would like to pull that back out of committee. That's the rezoning of South Teason. it was sent back to committee because the mayor had expressed some objections. The mayor has since then, sent a letter to the COR stating that her concerns have been addressed.
Thank you, Senator Ada. Let's take them individually. So bill number 74.
This is to place,
On the session agenda.
okay, and it's not on our,
So bill
So
number
this
70,
was old business, so it's
it's under old business, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so bill 74 is to transfer jurisdiction of Tizan parcel site 18, to place that under the administrative jurisdiction of the mayor of Barrigada and to authorize the office of the mayor to enter into a partnership with a nonprofit organization. That's the T18 is the site where the Chamorros, who were enlisted to do the Tizan airport, took shelter during the bombings. You're not going to object again, are you?
Huh?
You're not going to object again, are you? You are?
we didn't resolve.
Do it and it's dead. I mean, I won't raise it again and let somebody else resurrect it.
Do I hear a second? To place on session agenda. So yes, second by Speaker Cruz. Any objections?
Yeah, I would object, Madam Chair. It's just that this bill, I was thinking that there was going to be some kind of resolution in the interim that this is it's a very important historic site, yes, and the mayor wants to have memorial services on it, which of course I think we're all in favor of that. The issue is the care for this historic site, the responsibilities that go along with that. We were hoping, it's under GIAA right now, and it was GIAA's responsibility to do things with this site to protect its historic integrity. And I'm concerned, I mean, I know there was a letter from the SHPO outlining what the responsibilities were, and these responsibilities were also outlined in the deed when the property was transferred, and I was just hoping that we could get a resolution where GIAA would maintain its responsibility, but yet still allow the mayor to use it, you know, consistent with those responsibilities. You know, someone has to be responsible for that historic integrity of the site, and that the mayor would still be allowed to use it pursuant to another arrangement. I was hoping.
And the reality of it is that it could stay under the jurisdiction of the airport, but that's going to be low on its priority list of being able to, to fund those sort of things. So if we really want something done with that site, then I suggest we put it over under the jurisdiction of the mayor and let a nonprofit organization, maybe, for example, the Survivors Foundation, let them do what's necessary to take care of it. But, so it's either keep it under the jurisdiction of the airport, it's not higher on the priority, or they want to be freed up of that liability.
Madam Chair, I'd like to add to the Vice Speaker's comments in regards to this. I think that any time that we entertain the legislation and we already recognize that there's a historical site located on that parcel of property, we certainly need to ensure that there's a mechanism in the proposed legislation that would either bifurcate that property and give it to the appropriate government of Guam entity, whether it's the Guam Preservation Trust, and task them with that, or allow for the government to step in directly, whatever agency, and ensure that they maintain that site. So I believe that before this legislation is entertained, that certainly this issue has to be addressed in regards to bringing in the Vice Speaker's historic preservation perspective and ensure that they are also part and parcel of the discussion. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other member wish to be heard? There's been an objection. All those in favor of placing Bill 74 onto the session agenda for this month's session, please indicate by raising your hand. Motion fails. Senator Atta on 56.
Excuse me, Madam Chair, just to clarify, the motion fails to put it on the agenda?
We need 8 votes.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Right? We only had 6. 6. I'm sorry.
Madam Chair, if I may just perhaps clarify, do the rules call for a majority of the members present, or is there exact number of 8 or more to pass a motion?
And the only reason why that's being asked, Madam Chair, is because I know that you require 8 to amend any of the standing rules, but everything else before the agenda should be only the majority that's present. So it should pass now. Okay.
So 5 will pass.
There were 6. There were 6
no,
members.
but I'm saying to pass a motion in today's meeting
Correct.
will require 5.
Thank you, Senator Espadon. So bill number 74 will be placed on this session's agenda.
Is legal available to? I thought Committee on Rules votes are 6.
Yeah, we had 6. We had 6.
No, what I'm saying, okay. All right, it passed.
Senator Atta on bill 56.
Yes, so a move to place Bill 56. Basically, Bill 56 is really just more of an administrative housekeeping issue. Way back in the 22nd Legislature, these properties were given to these agencies, lot 7054-1 to Public Works and 7054-4 to Department of Public Works. I'm sorry, to Guam Police Department. And somehow Department of Public Works moved into the lot that was intended for GPD. So we just need to make that correction that now that lot belongs to DPW, and the other lot 7054 is to be transferred to the Chamorro Land Trust inventory, because in another bill we had actually allocated another piece of property for the Guam Police Department.
Do I hear a second? Seconded by Senator San Agustin. Any objection? No objection, so ordered. Bill number 75, Senator Atta.
Bill number 75. This is a bill that basically would put a sunset on the decisions made by the Territorial Land Use Commission. And this addresses the issues such as, for example, a couple of months ago there was an approval given by the Territorial Land Use Commission about 30 years ago to go ahead and develop a planned unit development up at Windward Hills. And of course, 30 years later, the owners came up and says, okay, we're ready to build. And by then, the surrounding neighbors were like, huh, where'd that come from? And it didn't have to go through a public hearing. Similar one occurred in Agate to build that hotel. 25 years later, they come out of nowhere, and of course, the environment, surrounding environment has changed. So this basically puts a sunset that if a notice of action is given by the Territorial Land Use Commission to build something on that land, you've got 5 years to do something with that. And that pretty much follows the practice today by the land trust. So all it is to avoid the surprises 30 years down the road that, oh my gosh, we had a planned unit development that was approved here 30 years ago, for example.
Thank you, Senator Atta.
Madam Chair, on this bill, could I just ask when this was reported out? Because when I went through the bills yesterday, this wasn't on the list of those reported out? Is it?
Gosh, I don't know. I'm pretty sure this was reported out a while back.
September 15th. September 15th, yeah. 2017. Okay, Senator Adam moves, the Speaker seconds. Any objection?
Just on the, just a minor, well, not necessarily minor. Madam Chair, just to bring to the attention of the sponsor, several legislatures back, there were some interesting discussions with regards to the use of territory and applying it to Guam, despite how the Organic Act applies to Guam. And any references, there was law that was actually passed, that any references the use of referencing to Guam as a territory will now be changed to Guam or island. So just for that particular reference, because this is a title, and I don't think that unless you delete that particular law, that law still stands, and this is a proposal at this point in time. So I just want to bring that technical correction, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Uggan. If no objection.
And Territorial Land Use Commission is the predecessor of the Guam Land Use Commission.
Thank you.
Okay.
No objection. So ordered. Senator Ada, 108.
Bill 108 is a bill to again transfer a piece of property in the village of Talafofo to place it under the jurisdiction. Oh, this is the wrong title. This is the wrong title. It was Bill 108. It was what was reported out was as substituted and amended by the committee, and it is an act to rescind the administrative jurisdiction of Lot 1 in Talafofo, previously granted to the Department of Land Management under the Land for the Landless program, and to vest administrative jurisdiction to the office of the mayor of Talafofo, and to authorize the municipal planning council to enter into a partnership with a non-government, not-for-profit sports organization for the purpose of constructing a recreational sports facility. So the title that's listed here on the agenda is incorrect, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator Ada. We'll make that correction. Any second?
Yeah, because
Seconded
we
by
substituted
Senator Uggan.
We're talking about the same lot.
On bill number 108, we have a second by Senator Uggan. Any objection to placing bill 108 on the session agenda? No objection. So moved. Senator Ada, 111.
Bill 111 is relative to the, it's a bill that provides a transition for the between the receiver of the solid waste operations to transition that control over to the Guam Solid Waste Authority. And basically what that transition does is it allows, for example, for a seamless transfer of operations to the Solid Waste Authority. It gives them up to 3 years to renew contracts that are currently in place. That allows them time to put out new contracts up to 3 years to be able to do that. It allows them to keep on board up to 3 years any of the unclassified employees that were hired directly by the receiver. So basically what this is, it just provides the bridge between the receiver and the Solid Waste Authority to be able to make that changeover.
Seconded by Senator San Augustine. Any objection to placing Bill 111 on the session agenda? Hearing none, so moved. Senator Atta, number 13.
Yes, Madam Chair, Bill number 13 was a bill that was on the session agenda about 2 sessions ago. It got sent back to the committee because the mayor of Barrigada had raised some concerns, and so a motion was made on the floor to send it back to committee. It's not listed on here. So we sent it back to committee, and since that time, the mayor has, she did send a letter to the COR indicating that the concerns that she had have been addressed and she no longer has concerns with Bill 13. Bill 13 is the bill to rezone in mass South Tizan. It affects about 44 lots. And so we're ready to bring it back out of committee and resume discussion on it.
Seconded by Speaker Cruz. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
And finally, the appointment of Stephen Hollister to the EPA, Guam EPA Board.
Seconded by Senator San Augustine. Any objection? So moved. Any other member wish to be heard? Senator Espaldon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to place Bill number 88-34 onto the session agenda, and basically it's an act to amend Title 12 relative to the fees resulting from the issuance of bonds and obligations.
Seconded by Senator San Augustine. Any objection? So moved. Senator Espaldon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Notwithstanding the House rules, I move to place Bill number 90-34 onto the session agenda. And the reason why I move, notwithstanding the House rules, because somehow I just don't see it on our our committee rules meeting agenda right now. And so I'm not sure how to deal with that. It has been, date committee report was filed was in July 25th of 2017. And that was an act basically relative dedicating and naming the Guam Visitors Building as the Norbert Bert Pinko Building.
Yes, I recall that. We'll just take a brief recess and I'll
Okay, thank you.
speak with staff.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We'll wait.
Do I hear a second? Yes. Bill 90. Senator San Augustine. And that is to rename the Guam Visitors Bureau to honor Mr. Mpinko. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Madam Chair, on the next introduction, I need to seek guidance from you in that Bill number 89-34 basically has the date committee to file report. It basically is still pending. Can I move that on here, or do I move it on a session floor?
And the title of the bill?
It's relative to appropriations from a revolving or special revenue fund. It's in BJ's committee. Okay, and so we won't be able to move on that until the committee reports it out? I'm sorry?
The committee report was filed yesterday, but our deadline was
Okay.
Our deadline was last week, Wednesday. So yeah, if you, notwithstanding the House rules.
Notwithstanding the House rule, then I move to place Bill number 89-34 as substituted by the Committee on Appropriations and Adjudication, which is basically an act relative to appropriations from a revolving or special revenue fund.
Second.
Senator San Augustine seconds. Any objection?
89.
To placing Bill 89 on the session agenda? Hearing none, so moved. Senator Espaldon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also move to place Bill number 122-34 as substituted by CEF&T. I'm not really sure what that stands for, but introduced by Senator Tom Morrison and Speaker BJF Cruz, and that's an act relative to incrementally increasing the liquid fuel tax rates for the purpose of funding village road repair and construction projects. That was Bill 122.
Moved by Senator Espaldon, seconded by Speaker Cruz. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. Senator Espaldon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I also move to place Bill number 138-34 as substituted and introduced by Senator Tommy Morrison, which is an act relative to the regulation of political signs.
I apologize. On the agenda, the title is incorrect. So it's 138, political signs.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, on my listing of the agenda, it's incorrect.
Yes. Just two more. Well, I represent all the committee, all the Republicans.
Seconded by Speaker Cruz.
Right.
Any objection?
I object.
There's been an objection. All in favor of moving 138 to the floor, please indicate by...
Madam
Yes.
Chair, before we take that vote, because one of the members stepped out probably to, I was wondering if we could wait. Oh, he's not coming back? Okay, well then I guess the vote must take place now then.
Please indicate by raising your hand to place Bill 138 on the session agenda. Motion fails. Senator Espaldon? Anything else? I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also move to place Bill number 123-34, introduced by Senator Castro, Senator Morrison, Senator Joseph Augustine, Senator Dennis Rodriguez, and that's an act to extend non-commercial driver's license reciprocity to the residents of the CNMI who are United States citizens issued by his or her home island by adding a new section to Title 16 of Guam Code annotated.
Seconded by Senator San Augustine. Any objection? Hearing none, we place 123 on the session agenda. Senator Espadan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And lastly, I moved to place Bill number 86-34 as introduced by Senator Castro and Senator Morrison. And this is an act relative to community-based fisheries management. And this act shall be known and cited as the Marine Conservation Act of 2017.
I apologize. Can you say the
I'm sorry.
bill number again?
86-34. I'm sorry. There's a notation on my list that the committee report is still pending. So, again, I look to you, Madam Chair, for guidance on how we might be able to move this onto the agenda. Can it be done here with a notwithstanding clause, or should it be introduced on the floor? Yeah, so the bills, the committee report being filed is still pending and on this one.
Madam Chair, there's not even a public hearing date, so this probably hasn't been heard yet.
It has been heard.
It has?
It has been. It was heard, I believe, last week.
Oh, maybe that's
We
why.
had some
Okay.
community stakeholders here, and it was duly heard. I'm just not sure.
Okay.
I don't believe that I've received the committee on rules hasn't received the report from the committee chair.
Okay.
So
So I guess so I look to your guidance. Should I not move to put this bill on at this time because the committee report is still pending, and perhaps advise
recommend
the
that-
authors
yeah,
to
we can place it on the
place it
session.
when we get to the session floor?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Can you clarify, was that placed on? did
No,
we
it was
agree?
not
It
placed
was
on the
not.
session
Okay,
agenda.
thank
That's
you.
Bill 86, and it's still with the committee on rules. Or the committee on land. We haven't filed the committee report. Any other member wish to place items on the session agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Senator Nelson.
I'd like to move to place Bill number 165-34, which is an act to add new subsection to the Guam Administration Rules and Regulations relative to the inclusion of the aircraft rescue and firefighting under Category 2 Peace Officers and the modification of the adoption of the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission Physical Fitness Qualification Test.
Seconded by Senator San Agustin. Any objection to moving 165 to our session agenda? Hearing none, so moved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I'd like to add Bill number 24-34, an act to add a new subsection to Article 1 of Chapter 4, Title 5, Guam Code annotated relative to establishing monthly consolidated tax collections reports.
124?
Bill number 24.
24. Seconded by Speaker Cruz. Any objection?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, sorry. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to move to add Bill number 63-34, an act to require the Director of the Department of Revenue and Taxation to determine the Guam-sourced income generated from federally contracted activity by contractors who do not file their taxes on Guam, reconcile such information with the Section 30 reimbursements attributable to such income, and report its findings for further action to Imagalahan Guahan and the Speaker of Legislature in Guahan.
Seconded by Speaker Cruz. Any objection? So moved.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to add Bill number 64-34, an act to require the Department of Revenue and Taxation to, in collaboration with the Guam International Airport Authority, determine the air transportation taxes paid by inhabitants of Guam since the establishment of such tax, reconcile such information with the Section 30 reimbursements attributable to air transportation taxes, and report its findings for further action to Imagalahan Guahan and to the Speaker of the Legislature of Guam.
Seconded by Speaker Cruz. Any objection? Okay.
Thank you, Madam
So
Chair.
moved.
I'd like to add Bill number 65-34, an act to require the Director of Department of Revenue and Taxation to, in collaboration with the Banking and Insurance Commissioner, determine the Guam source income generated by business engaged in mortgage financing activities and banking, insurance trust, and investment entities who do not file their taxes on time, reconcile such information with the Section 30 reimbursement attributable to such income and reports its findings for further actions to Imagalahan Guahan and to the Speaker of Legislature in Guahan.
Seconded by Senator San Augustine. Any objection?
And
So moved.
lastly, Madam Chair, I'd like to add resolution number 215-34, relative to respectfully requesting the Federal Trade Commission conduct a current review of trade practices and market concentration in the wholesale and retail fuel market on Guam in the context of the FTC mandates relative to the ExxonMobil merger of 2000 as enumerated in FTC docket number C-3907, decision and order.
Seconded by Senator San Augustine. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other member wish to?
Madam
Yes,
Chair?
Senator San Augustine.
Bill number, actually notwithstanding the House rule, but I don't see 112 when on your bill status it reflects that it's been reported. Date, committee report filed. 112. It shows that it was submitted. The title is an act to amend section 18117 A2A relative to eligibility qualification for manicurist license to add section 18120.1 relative to guest educators to add A7 to section 18123 relative to prohibited products and practice and to add C to 18128.6 relative to prohibited instruments, all of chapter 18 title 10 Guam Code annotated. It's to do with the manicurists, the barbers and stuff.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Senator Uggan. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. 112.
Also, Bill 113, which would be an act to amend section 121801 definition, 121802 qualification for licensure, 121803 exception to licensure requirements, and 121804 scope of practice, and to add new 121805 licensure renewal, all of Article 18, Chapter 12, Part 2, Title 10, Guam Code annotated relative to speech language pathology.
Thank you. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Senator Nelson. Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. Senator San Augustine.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members who'd like to place? Yes, Senator San Augustine.
Bill 150-34. Relative to establishing a new property tax rate for real property restricted to the requirements of the federal low-income housing tax credit.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the number?
Bill 150-34.
Okay.
Requirements of federal low-income tax and real property and deed restriction involving rental caps made pursuant to agreements with either federal or local government.
Do I hear a second? Any objection? Hearing none, so moved. Would any other members like to motion to place items on this session agenda? Hearing none, we'll move. I just want to make a quick note regarding the quarterly report. I want to advise that there have been a few changes to staff at Legislature and Guahan, and that the Committee on Legislative Operations will give a financial and operations report during the next Committee on Rules meeting in October.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair. I just want to share with my colleagues that resolution number 228, the relative to addressing the protection of the environmental and cultural resources of the northern coastline of Guam and prohibiting the construction of the live fire training range complex at Northwest Field, we'll be having a public hearing on Friday. And so hopefully we can have the committee report done and put on session floor if that's okay with everyone. Just so you know.
Noted. Thank you.
Also, Madam Chair, I have re-announced for Lisa Provido, the one we had last week, and Celestian Babauta. Because there was an administrative oversight, we didn't cast the first notice, so we're redoing it this Friday. So we'll probably get the committee report the same day done.
2 nominations.
For 2
correct?
nominations. But there's 3 individuals we're going to be seeing that day. So you may get
And that
all
was
3.
Lisa Provido and
And Celestian
Babauta.
Babauta, and I'm lost with the third name.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I would move, Madam Chair, to add the appointment of Peter Alexis Ada as the Director of DYA.
Second, any second? Seconded by Senator Nelson. Any objections? Hearing none, so moved. The chair now opens the floor for further discussion under extensions of remarks. Yes, Senator again.
Madam Chair, thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to just inquire about a particular policy that was adopted. I believe it was back in May, where a motion was placed on the floor to require that, in fact, legislation that's introduced be referred out to the appropriate committee within 5 days. And if, in fact, that's not completed, then a notification to the sponsor by the chair of the Committee on Rules will be provided in terms of the rationale. As a matter of fact, I have one piece of legislation that was introduced on the 1st of September, which has yet to be reported out as of today, or reported or referred to a particular committee. So, Madam Chair, I'd like to request a written notification as to why that is not being reported out.
Absolutely.
So that if, in fact, as a sponsor of that legislation, I need to modify it or make corrections, then certainly I would like to do that so that, in fact, we can move forward with that legislation.
Thank you very much, Senator again. And written correspondence is forthcoming.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Motion to adjourn, Madam Chair.
Motion to adjourn by Senator San Augustine, seconded by Senator Espaldon. Any objection? Thank you very much. And the Committee on Rules hereby adjourns this meeting at 2:57 p.m. Thank you for your attendance and your participation. Sidus Mahasi.